Magic players, hello and welcome to our next series in Magic 2014, the deck list building constructing videos. And we're going to go alphabetically, which means we start with Avacyn's Glory, which is just fine because that's where many people consider the best deck in the game to be, is right here. And what we're going to, first we don't want to reset. We want to set by cost because that's intelligent. And one of my favorite features in this game is being able to take crap out below 60 cards, which they did not let you do in 2011, 2012, 2013, etc. You had to customize your deck with at least 60 cards in it in the first place. And it was kind of annoying when you're just like, well, I want to use these, and blah, blah, then you had to take crap out just to add crap, or you had to add crap to take other crap out, you know, whatever. So it's nice that we can start there. We're going to put it up to 23 just for a gander at the start. And let's get started. We don't have the promo unlock codes yet, but I do have a list of them. I'll talk about those later on. And for the moment, we're just going to take a quick little gander at really what we have. There's a couple different build options we can go with. Most people, by preference, pick the White Weenie aggro build, which is probably a little bit more effective. However, if you don't want to be boring, as in simply click whatever button the game is highlighting for you and then attack with everything and win the game in 6 turns, they provide lots of big, heavy, fat, beautiful, gorgeous, justice-dealing, wielding sword, deathly angels over here. And if we feel like choosing them as options, we can so do so. And they will be very powerful because that's what you do when you're a super hot-ass, badass, winged chick with a sword and divine justice radiating above your head all the damn time. What are you so upset about? I mean, like, you're amazing. Anyway. So if that is more your fancy, you can definitely go that route as well. There's one thing I like to do with my deck building things is not tell people it must be this way. These are the 60 cards you have to use. Don't you dare use 61. Blah, blah, blah. We're going to go over each card in all of these videos for the deck lists and really just kind of discuss them. You know, that's what's great about Magic. In many cases, you can have flavor both ways. Some people like this card, some people like that card. You know, different experiences, like, oh, you know, this thing, when people use it against me, blah, 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 stuff like that. And other people will say, geez, you know, that thing never does anything against me. I'm not going to play it. So that is one of the beauties of Magic, that for most people, there's a little bit of variance, but there's some cards where there's just not. And right now, we're going to immediately first add all the cards that just do not matter. You play them. So we're going to start off with these guys because you just play them. We'll scroll in on them a little bit later. Path to Exile, you know, you just play it. It's one of those cards. Those guys are some of those cards. Honor the Pure, more of those cards. We're going to keep on going. Oh yeah, the Fiend Hunter, more of those cards. You know, I guess to a lesser extent him, why not? O-Ring, you play them. Restoration Angel. Now, if you don't play Paper Magic, you probably aren't aware that this card is godly. And potentially a lot of people don't run this in this deck, to which I'm not quite sure why. If you play Paper Magic, you look at name Restoration Angel and you click it, auto-include, and you move on, and you never think twice about it. But this is one I definitely think I actually have to make an extra little segment for just on this alone. ZMT, if you're watching this video, and Crunk, you too, since I know ZMT likes to not run this, you know better, dude. You run this card, quit being a noob, and Crunk, don't you dare listen to him! He doesn't know how to play Magic! So there we go. There's my little bit on Restoration Angel, you play it. Auto-include, 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 and then we'll go from there on. So as you can see, we're at 43 cards, which already counts the land, and we're pretty close now. Not pretty close. We're about in the middle of the deck being finished at this point, and we can really go either way from here on out. Well, I guess if we wanted to really go a heavy build, we could potentially think about changing those guys. Heavy meaning just higher cost, more angel stuff. You would include things like the Seraph of Dawn, and then a lot of these high-powered, beautiful little beat sticks instead. But we're not going to go that way. We're going to go with the aggro build in this video. Not to say that heavy is bad by any means. It's just a little bit more consistent, a little bit quicker, a little bit easier to play, debatably a little bit more fun to go this way, and this deck is considered the best deck in the game by many because of the aggro build. So now that we've put in all the must runs, and we'll take another look at them later. Actually, well, yeah, well, we'll just take a look at them now. This guy, 1 drop, although don't you dare ever cast him for 1 because then he's dead. The X determines how big he is, but he's not there to be big, he's there to make the rest of your army big. So you want to come with him with at least 2 counters so that you can immediately put one on, well, not immediately, so you can start putting them on, but eventually with the less counters you put on your other creatures, you're going to have to waste some turns using him to get bigger so you can do it some more. So he functions better, honestly, as either, well, normally I would say as your very first creature so he can get up there while you play other stuff, but in this particular deck you're not going to have time to do that first. So he functions better as a little bit more in the mid game so that you can put out 2 or 3 counters on everything before having to reload. Nonetheless, you play him. Champion of the Parish, I really don't even want to talk about it. You play it, end of story. When the promo codes come out and we get a 4th one, chances are you play it. Path to Exile, one of the best removal spells ever made. Turn off simplified targeting because you can even pop one of your own dudes if you really need a land that bad. It's a pro play, sometimes it happens, you know, whatever. So we're just going to include that automatically. Elite Inquisitor, 2/2 for First Strike and Vigilant, which is an amazing combination by itself. But he's more here because of the protection of zombies as well, considering the zombie deck is one of the quote-unquote big 3 in this game, since basketball likes to make everything all about 3s. You know, we're just going to keep going with that, bring it into the world of Magic. Pro Zombies, First Strike, Vigilant for 2, you run him. There's no really anything to talk about. And Grand Abolisher, this guy probably never should have been printed because he pretty much just says, hey, we're going to play chess where one person moves at a time. We're not going to play Magic where people can do whatever the hell they feel like. That's kind of how he rolls. He prevents your opponent from countering your stuff. He prevents your opponent from shocking your dude mid-combat and making other guys weaker. That doesn't necessarily apply in this deck, but the concept of them blowing up your lord at instant speed, no longer going to happen. The concept of them giant growthing their creature and then blocking, not going to happen. He prevents your opponent from having fun. Therefore, you play him. Honor of the Appear doesn't need to be said. Creatures get fat. This guy by himself, he's not as fantastic. It's more there just as an engine to constantly fuel your army, constantly have more stuff get into play, constantly make him fatter, which at instant speed, if you attack in, they're like, oh, I'll block and trade. No, it's not trading anymore, because fat. So there's that. His Fateful Hour ability, it will likely never come into play. If it actually does, you win the game. There was one time I was playing against a guy, I kid you not, he had Fateful Hour out there, he had Baneslayer, he had a Soul Warden, and I think he had like one other guy somewhere, and I don't know why, but he did something. I don't think it was tapping for a dude, but he cast some sort of creature and Soul Warden gained him a life. He went up to 6, and then his entire board just got nerfed, and he couldn't kill me. I'm like, way to go, dude. All you had to do was attack. Play land, attack. You don't even need to play land. Draw a card, attack, win game, and whatever. So on one hand, don't expect to have it, but if you do get it or are very close to getting it, it's worth, you know, taking a few points and not gaining life to go up for it. Fiend Hunter works amazing with Grand Abolisher. Don't you dare leave my deck. Exile's a card. It's a wonderful 2-for-1. They can unfortunately get it back whenever they feel like by removing it, so it generally doesn't participate in combat, especially blocking if they attack with something 2 power or less and Fiend Hunter sitting there. Depending on the situation, a little bit of Magic experience, etc., you probably just let that go. You really do. But you definitely include him because as much removal as you possibly can get is always a good thing. Oblivion Ring, pretty much a Fiend Hunter for more amounts of cards, but without the creature, which honestly makes it safer that way. So definitely include all copies of it. Restoration Angel, we're not going to talk about it. Restoration Angel makes you have fun. Excuse me, I can't speak. Allows you to have fun, allows you to play Magic, because the game is Magic, the game is not push A to win. It is not a quick time event, it is where fun stuff happens, so I'm not going to talk about it anymore. If you want to make talk in the comments, that's right, make talk, I said that. Then make talk in the comments and we'll discuss it further. Angelic Overseer, as soon as you see flying, hexproof, indestructible, you pretty much play it. Yes, this is only 5. It's not something more. Alright, they printed this card. That's fine. Use it both. Use both of them. Does not matter the build. And Baneslayer, for whatever reason, if you don't want to run Baneslayer because you think it's 5, well, some people think that way, and then those people are what I would like to call wrong. You run this card. Baneslayer single-handedly changed creatures for the rest of Magic and probably never should have been printed. When she was printed, she was dubbed Bank Slayer Angel in my area, as she went up to $60 a pop. And she just single-handedly changed everything. Creatures less than 4, or creatures, sorry, less than 5, suddenly were able to be more powerful because she was this powerful. And creatures that cost 5 or more now officially have this as the standard, that if you're not comparable to Baneslayer, you're too weak. So you run her, she can win the game by herself. One problem this deck has is board wipes or getting cleaned out early, and if you get cleaned out early, popping a bunch of 1/1s is not going to win the game. She's a way to win the game by herself. And that's really why all of these creatures are going to be your auto-includes. And now is where we get to a little bit of the debatable areas. Doom Traveler, he's probably a must-run. I held off on him mostly, I don't really know, but you run him. These guys are a little bit more in contention. I personally like them a lot and would run them myself. A lot of people don't, though, because there's so many other options to run, etc., etc., and the fact that his ability is potentially there, that you never really use it. Well, there's a saying in chess that the threat of an attack is often greater than the attack itself. You think, oh no, he's got this going on, I lose the game if I don't respond, so you just respond and that's fine, but if you don't, it's the threat of it happening is a big deal. The threat of attacking with a bunch of guys and that he could pop is a big deal. Do you block them and hope he doesn't sack and don't take as much damage? Do you block his guys and then suddenly they're all bigger and you lose your stuff? Do you bother blocking him at all if you're attacking an entire army and you have to block everything because he's just going to die? Whatever. I personally run them. It has a lot of synergy with the deck. Same with Soul Warden as well. A lot of synergy. The life gain is absolutely helpful. Life gain is a terrible way to win games. Magic needs to teach people that gaining life is bad. Well, not bad, but very, very helpful, especially in an aggro deck and an aggro-based metagame. This can easily, for 1 mana, gain you 8 life over the course of the game. And it's not powerful or deadly enough to warrant being removed, so it's going to stay. We'll get to more later on why these guys are also really good, but for now we'll just throw them in there because we want to play quick aggro beats to the face, and that's how we want to roll. Thalia is amazing. Some people don't run it simply because this ability is double-edged. It can backfire on you a little bit. Your Path to Exile will be 2, your Gather the Townsfolk will be 3, your Honor the Pure will be 3, and that potentially prevents you from doing multiple things in one turn. However, for the ability of stumping your opponent completely, if you're going first and you pop this creature, oh look, now your Rampant Growth suddenly is 3 to cast, so if you're stuck on land, you can't. Your counter spells are suddenly worse, so now them trying to hold off and play stuff, suddenly they can't really do that as much as well. And considering this deck is heavily creature-based, it doesn't get in your way as often. So we throw them both in. The first strike is also godly. Let's not overlook the fact that she's a 2-power first strike for 2, also a human. You can't play both on the field at the same time, however. I guess that's argument for just playing one copy, but play both, whatever. Unruly Mob. A lot of people like this, a lot of people don't. For me, it's a little bit more on the filler side, that as you're building a deck, you always want to know what the last cards you're including are, and for me, this is one of my last cards I would be including if I were to include it. For demo purposes' sake, if you wanted to, let's say, take out one Selfless Cathar and run one Unruly Mob just to try and see what you like more, no harm, no foul. If you run this card, it's not bad per se. In order for it to be good, it relies on, 3 situations. Either 1, you're getting your ass kicked and all your stuff is dying and that makes him bigger, to which at that point, you're probably not doing so hot anyway. Or potentially you're in a tight game, everyone's trading, he's just kind of sitting back, getting big, and all of a sudden he's left on the board. Now he is a must-remove threat himself. That's a good option. Or, I guess what are other options? Board doesn't really get wiped, but there were 3 in my head yesterday when I was thinking about this vid, and now I don't have it, and all 3 of them had like funny jokes, and all the jokes are gone. It's all business now with me. So potential, if you see him, he's not bad. I personally don't run him, but whatever, I'll throw 1 in for the sake of this video and take out 1 Cathar, or whatever. I'm not going to end up with exactly the 60 cards I feel like. I'm just kind of going through this here. Bonds of Faith. It's a little bit of a buff if you need something strong, if you need, you realize that the clock is low and you think, hey, if I cast this, I can kill them in 2 turns or something like that. It can help you defensively if you need to respond to a creature. It can help you offensively if you need to be bigger and win the game. So, because of the fact that it has that little 2-for-1 option built in, I think it's a very quality card to include. Some people may not, and you know what, that's probably fine. I like it. It gives options, multiple things to do, multiple paths to victory. You really just consider it as a pacifism first, and as a holy strength second, but it's still a solid card that eventually, I suppose, when promo unlocks come out, he's going to be gone. Same with Unruly Mob, he's going to be gone. Once the promo unlocks like Baneslayer and Champion of the Parish and another Honor the Pure and another Path to Exile, they all show up, whatever. Gather the Townsfolk really are the heart of the deck. The only reason I didn't have them earlier as auto-includes is in case you wanted to... I don't know. The card by itself is not godly, I guess is the thing, but the card in the deck is godly. Chances are Fateful Hour is not going to come into play in this case. If it does come into play, I guess it could potentially save you. I don't know, but whatever. So we're going to run those. Mentor the Meek. A lot of people don't like playing this card. I don't know why. A lot of people don't like having fun. Magic, at the end of the day, despite the fact that Duels of the Planeswalkers is all aggro and beat to the face, Magic in general, at the heart, at the core, is having fun playing spells, card advantage card game. It just is. And this guy happens to be that. By himself, he's not much. 3 for a 2/2, very pedestrian in a deck like this. And he's not really going to participate in combat too much, but because almost everything you play is going to fulfill this, you get to draw cards and restock yourself for 1. One thing that aggro decks have a hard time with is running out of steam once you have your opening hand. You play your free land, you drop all your creatures really quick, and then by turn 3 or 4 you're already top decking because you fizzled out. Like, you might still have a board position and that's cool, but at this point now, like, you're not going to be able to keep up that pace. Mentor the Meek allows you to keep up that pace. He allows you to dig deeper through your deck, and every time I play him on the field, he is usually a very big reason why I've won. I'll end up, at the very end of the game pulling out cards where it's like, oh, thank God I finally got that removal spell, or oh, thank God Baneslayer at this last critical turn. And, maybe you think, oh, I'm just top decking this guy finally. Well, no, he pulled out 5 cards through the course of the game and allowed that to happen. So, I think he's must run. I really do. He's just that important. He's that good. These guys, no. He's kind of the same boat, 3 for a 2/2, and when he dies, something else gets bigger. That's not quite as good as drawing cards. I could see how a lot of people want to run him, and potentially, depending on your build, you could. I just don't think he makes the cut. If Magic made you have 70 card decks, he probably would then, but no. Same with Midnight Guard. He just doesn't really do anything by himself. He's not strong enough to warrant the cost. 2 power, everything else is 2 power. And everything else is 1 or 2. So, untapping him, well, big deal, really. With this deck, normally it's bad to play stuff main phase 1 with this deck because of all the various pump methods and Champion of the Parish. You want to play stuff main phase 1, so he's not attacking. I mean, this is like a poor man's Vigilant, which 3 for a 2/3 Vigilant, whatever. Golden Knight Commanders, these guys are a little bit of an engine, a little bit of an endgame finisher, I should say, not an engine. When he enters the battlefield, after he's entered the battlefield, all your other stuff potentially becomes a free overrun, really, which is why having so many extra little 1-drops is nice, which is why generating so many little tokens is nice. So you play these guys, and then let's say, well, later on, we'll get to some of the 5-drops later, but some of the cards that drop in multiple creatures, all your stuff gets really fat. If you have that guy and, let's say, a Doomsayer in play, you can attack with everything, and then suddenly after they block, be like, oh look, here's a dude. Oh look, my dudes get fatter. Oh look, you can even... Well, no, never mind. What was I looking at? Oh yeah, Honor the Pure makes everything fatter. Where was I looking? Soul Ward makes you gain life. That's not... There we go. Champion of the Parish. He'll get fatter with additional things all being played at the same time. And all sorts of stuff like that. That's just the deck synergy. And then we'll get to the 5-drops later where having him on the field makes him must remove. By himself, again, he's not a huge threat. None of the cards in this deck are. They're only good as a mass. and that's really where we're going to go. Restoration Angel, again, we've already talked about that. Enter the battlefield, leave the battlefield, flash and flying. You know, good stuff. Remove pacifism from something. Angelic Overseer, don't need to talk about that. Getting on into a little bit of the heavier stuff now. As we can see, I didn't even look at that yet. We are actually exactly at 60 cards for the moment, and we haven't got to the bombs yet. Actually, no, I guess we have put in a couple of the bombs. So, from here on out, though, all the other cards that we can potentially look at are really just going to be heavier build stuff. This guy, 2/2 lifelink, replaces himself. He's not terrible, I suppose, but based on other options we can play, he's just going to fall short. I'd rather spend 4 mana for flying and lifelink that's not going to die quite as much. Just for one little example. Sure, she won't replace herself, but she's a little bit better and might not necessarily be replaced in the first place. Angel of Mercy, no. If you play this card, just quit the game, hit escape, concede, delete the game, and go pick up a ball and go outside. Geist Honored Monk, probably, well, first I guess we're gonna skip Ring of Three Wishes for a second. We're gonna look at 1 Geist Honored Monk and 2 Increasing Devotion. The purpose in this deck, each of these 2 cards, is pretty much the same thing. Put out a bunch of little dudes, 5 for there, 3 for there, and hope that either restocks you or gives you enough muscle, either in combination with these guys or in combination with Mentor the Meek, and you can draw more cards if you get really land flooded, or just having a bunch of stuff drop down on the field. Honor the Pure makes them disgusting. Soul Warden has you gain a couple extra life. You sacrifice these guys the next turn with everything attacking, you have a huge army. Champion of the Parish just gets fat from Increasing Devotion, +5/+5, okay. Not as much with Geist Honored Monk, but Geist Honored Monk, which she loses by only having 2 tokens, which happen to fly, by the way, she becomes a fat creature with vigilance herself. So you definitely want to include one of them, if not both of them. My little rule of thumb that I've always had in aggro decks is that I want, just after using all the little aggro stuff, I want to have 4 cards that I consider bombs late game at the end of the day, that I can just play them and expect them to turn the game around or just win it. At the moment we only have 3, so that means by my own little rule I want to include at least one of these, which puts me at 61, so we'll have to, you know, either do something about that or not. But in this case, with both of them, since they're both so good, they both have so much synergy with everything else. The flashback, it's mostly irrelevant. I suppose it's still possibly there, but, you know, whatever. In this case, I do include both of them just because you want more. Get out of here! Just because you want more options in this case. And since everything really we're looking at is 1 and 2 cost, I don't feel bad dropping down to 22 and having this. Well, what the? Oh, because I put in 2. Yeah, my original deck was 21 before, as you guys saw when I was deleting things. 21's a little slim. I would like 22, but it works just fine. Getting to 5 mana is no problem. And this is where I personally sit, though I don't have the Unruly Mob, and I kind of go to and fro with the Bonds of Faith, and I throw in the extra Cathar. So that's my build, but we're not quite done yet. There's still room for improvement. Hallowed Burial is an amazing card if you're in deep trouble and you'd be like, well, I'm going to lose the game, so let me try this and try not losing the game. It's a possibility. Against the red deck with the Phoenixes and crap like that, it prevents them from coming back. Same with the zombies, it gets them out of the graveyard, as it's putting them in the library, prevents them from coming back. So it does have that going for it as well. And it ignores things like Indestructible and, you know, Hexproof and all that jazz. So it has that potential. But at this point, I'm already too thin on land. I'm already at 60 cards, and if I can't beat face fast enough with all of this stuff, I don't really want to bother like trying to reset and then start from scratch. Because if we're starting from scratch, this deck does not have the power by playing 1/1s at that point. So I have lost to the card several times and been like, man, it's a good card, I should use it. And then I throw it in and I draw it, and I'm very unhappy that I have it in my hand. So it's very 50-50. If you play it, go for it. I support it. If you don't play it, go for it. I support it. Ring of Three Wishes, I'll spend a little bit of time on that. People get confused by the fact that it's mythic. They think it's good. It's 10 mana for a Demonic Tutor. 5 land is already a little high on this end. And what are you going to pull out? You're going to spend 10 mana to get your Baneslayer to win the game, which costs 5 more mana. So then you're spending 3 turns worth of time. and 15 mana's worth to get Baneslayer, which potentially is just removed, which the next turn, 4 turns later, is when she finally makes that difference. It's just too much, and if you want to get something else, again, you have to spend another 5 land, and then another 5 land, and another turn or 2. It's just too much. Get out of here. It's too much for something like this. A deck like this likes to play its land as fast as possible during main phase 1 for all the enter the battlefield, enter play effects, etc. before combat. Thus, things like this of, maybe I could sit and wait, and if I have 5 mana later, then I can do it. It doesn't really apply in this deck, so don't run it. It might look very tempting because you get lots of cards. It's just, I would rather have pretty much any creature here. I would rather draw Restoration Angel. I'd rather draw Fiend Hunter. I'd rather draw Mentor the Meek. I'd rather draw Gather the Townsfolk. I'd rather draw just about anything than Ring of 3 Wishes. And from here on out, we have a bunch of powerful creatures that are just straight up more than 5. And 5 is my personal limit in this deck, so I'm not really going to go over them too much. If you want to use a heavy Angel build, then we can consider them. She's really powerful. She'll help stock you up on your field with a little bit of extra chump and defense when she gets there, should you be running a heavy build. Deathless Angel was a huge force in, what the hell was that called? ZMT. What was that white-black deck called in that other game? I forget what the hell it was called in 2012. It was really good. It was DLC. Something with Dead, I thought. Whatever. The white-black deck in that game was crazy good. Deathless Angel was a very big reason for it. But in a deck that we're using right now with aggro, she's just not going to make the cut. Twilight Shepherd, very, very good creature. 6 for a 5/5 flying vigilance by itself is already good. Give it persist, that makes it amazing. And the fact that she allows you to suicide yourself and get all the stuff back is just, it's just extra milk and cookies, man. It's just gravy on top of them nice warm mashed potatoes and turkey and Thanksgiving. It allows you to suicide attack with everything, or it allows you to chump block. Well, I guess you can't really chump block with everything and then cast this as a sorcery. Never mind, scratch that. Let me fix that real quick. But it allows you to just be much more liberal with the use of the lives of your creatures, much more like a general, and doing magical stuff. It does get them back to your hand instead of your graveyard, but really they're probably all 2 cost anyway, so if you got 6 mana, you can probably play 2 or 3 of them the very next turn easy, if more like 3 or 4 of them the very next turn easy, and then they're just like, oh, yeah, I just lost creatures trading to kill those guys and now they're back. It sucks. You win the game. This card, nope, you suck. I'm not going to look at you. This card, too much reading. Nice little picture there. You always want to get twins if you can. But it's just not something that's going to fit in this deck right now. Archangel, no, you're bad. Devout Invocation. If you get to cast this card and then you get to untap the next turn, you win. You really do. There was one game where I played against this card where the dude used it, and then my very next top deck, I had Grave Pact in play, was Death Cloud. So I popped a huge-ass Death Cloud after attacking because he wasn't going to block because of Grave Pact, and then I just nuked all his stuff after smashing him in the face, and he lost his hand, and it was game over. So it was amazing. The only time I've ever seen somebody do it, I was like, oh shit, I just lost, but then I top decked Death Cloud and I didn't lose and whatever. But it costs 7, it's never going to happen. Likewise with her, she is a god, or I guess I should say a goddess. If you're running a heavy angel build, then you absolutely run her. But in an aggro build, no. You should never get 8 mana. If you get 8 mana and the game is not over yet, it means you've done nothing and you're just going to lose. I guess she could potentially pull you out of your ass and save you. That's kind of what angels are supposed to do, right? Right, Lenneth? Valkyrie angels are supposed to save us. She's just not quite going to fit it in this build. 5 is my little cutoff. I don't even really want 5 drops. At least we're light on the 4s, and they're all too important to cut as well. But the heart of this deck is in the 1 and 2 drops, and then the 3 drops just give you a little bit of extra oomph. So that's the heart of Avacyn's glory. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. As far as the promo cards, when we get them, we're going to get an extra Baneslayer, which who knows what we're going to do with that. 4 aggro cards though: Path to Exile, Knight of White Orchid, Honor the Pure, and Champion of the Parish. All 4 of those will be must run in any aggro build. But because it gives us an extra Increasing Devotion, an extra Geist Honored Monk, an extra Baneslayer, it throws a Sunblast Angel into our midst as well. It's going to make it a little interesting as opposed to, I think people are going to switch to a little bit more late game thing. To which, if they go that route, you can take out some of this stuff. You know, you can put more other things like maybe Seraph of Dawn in there and play a little bit slower and throw out all those fatties that they give us extra. That could be where, that could be where we go with this after promo cards come out. But it really just depends on people's opinions. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know any comments, questions, concerns you have, etc. And hopefully you'll check out the other deck building videos from Magic 2014 that I have up. So thanks for watching, guys. Take it easy. Catch you later. Go kick some ass. Peace.